We might actually go towards the end to cut that bok choy out of there so we can start growing some new things. Okay, we are going to kind of finish up here. Again, talking about continuing our research. Okay, so you'll be able to, again, keep explaining why continuing research is necessary for the success of cultivated plants and really for us, okay, mankind. And we are also then going to talk about, we'll see if we get to the germplasm or not, but we're going to be talking about new crops we've already talked about. Really just kind of finishing up the chapter here and really talking about the research aspect, okay, and why it is important for the continuation of research and then also where that is going as well, okay? And we'll talk a little bit about biotechnology things as well. And then, like I said, you guys took your plant scientist oath, so you will become biotechnology engineers today. And I'm pretty excited about it. What? Yeah, you're not going to be agronomist today. Well, you're going to kind of be agronomist, actually, yeah. I'd say more plant scientist. What? Yeah, I thought you three were, and then with Ashley. Is that okay? Oh yeah, and Tori. Well, you could do it too if you want, because then I'll take the top 4.
Can we have our same group from last year for the thing?
Yeah, we'll talk later about that, okay?
We can't do it.
Okay. Yesterday, we kind of finished up talking about lots of different, I guess, products that were created from the different acts that we talked about. The Hatch Act laid foundations for lots of experimenting and researching. That led into, really, who was the guy we talked about yesterday that did all this stuff with peanuts or soybeans? George Washington Carver. Okay, he created a lot of different products. He did that. He used that utilization research. He found a lot of different uses for peanuts, for soybeans, cotton also. He found lots of uses that then created a market. Okay, created a demand for all of those crops. That was way before, yeah. But that's all right. Who did that? Eli who? Whitney, nice job.
Eli Manning.
Not quite Eli Manning. All right, and then we talked about the war efforts then on creating some other different research that was put into dehydrated foods or other products out there that helped during the war effort. Now we're done with the war. We'll talk about a little post-war research. Do you need paper and stuff?
Can you go back?
Okay. Read through. The rubric also has kind of what you need to do as well. You're going to either do some sort of presentation, like you can do a PowerPoint presentation, or you can do a like that Pictochart as well that just lists kind of all of those different things, and then you're also going to draw your organism. Okay? And if you need the paper and stuff, I got it back there, and markers and stuff. Okay? But you can do that Pictochart, or you can do another presentation as well. It's up to you. All right? Yeah. I'll explain it later. I'll explain it more later. All right. So after the war now, we have, again, yes. Yeah. Okay. So after the war, now we are starting to get into more of a surplus of crops. And we've talked about, again, if there is a surplus of crops, what are the prices like for that crop?
Whoa.
Yeah, they're not that good. They're not that good. So now we have to, again, do that, or scientists had to use that utilization research to then figure out some new uses for different crops, okay? And again, like I said, the attention was given to the surplus of all of these crops, back to the utilization research to figure out what are some things we can do with some of the crops that we have. And that is what we'll get into next year. You got it?
Sure.
Okay, so we're in the 40s and 50s now. The war is over. So boom, one thing that they did with some of these plants is really took some research into frozen foods. Who in this room, just raise your hand, eats frozen vegetables, or frozen TV dinners, or frozen pizzas, anything like that.
Frozen pizza is the
Frozen food, I should just say.
Oh,
Okay, so without this research in the 40s and 50s, we would not really have a lot of that technology that we have today. A lot of that research went into figuring out how we can preserve food better, and also with plants, how we can keep them all year long, instead of just picking them fresh and then utilizing them. So a lot of different frozen food technology came into play. Another demand that was created was for orange juice.
OJ.
Frozen OJ concentrate was created to create a demand for the oranges. Another staple crop that we had talked about also was potatoes. Okay, potatoes, sometimes it took too long to actually make them, boil them, bake them, whatever. So they then created instant potato flakes. Anybody ever had instant potatoes
that makes
before?
sense. The other
Brought
one.
to school.
Definitely not as good as
They may, yeah, you might,
They do.
you might be right there. What? Have you had them or not?
They're not. They're not good.
I don't really think they taste that much different than a
I
potato,
used
but
to.
I
No,
just
they
do.
taste
I
a
don't.
lot different.
I kind of grew up on them, I guess. So.
They
Yeah, I
taste
guess
way
that's
different.
true.
Powder's
And
so
then
texture
they
is
does
way different. They
taste-
taste different.
no,
I mean, they're not terrible, but
Okay.
they taste way different. But they're still good. They're good.
Okay, they're not bad. Or another thing probably that was going on also is sliced up potatoes, like for au gratin potatoes or what else am I thinking? Au gratin potatoes or what else? Scallop potatoes. Boom.
Julia.
So that was all kind of that was dried potatoes as well that you could do instant potato flakes with as well. So all that research was going in during this time, the 40s and 50s. This, since there was a higher demand, now we got all these other products that these crops can be used for, and then created a market for them, which you guys will have to think about your utilization research on when you create your product. Okay? Some other things here that led to increased demand. We've talked about soybeans yesterday.
Wow.
With George Washington Carver creating all these uses. One of these uses could be soy ink. So that created a whole other market for soybeans to be used for. Also, the book does highlight and talks about OPEC, so we'll talk about that as well. It talks about in the 60s, rising productivity has kept interest high in using surplus crops. In addition, the past several decades have also been a time of renewed interest in finding ag substitutes for industrial materials. New demand for research have appeared, and then one such incentive talked about the dramatic oil prices hikes by the OPEC, or Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, in 1973 and 1979. Not only did energy costs soar, but Americans became painfully aware of their dependence on foreign oils. And I think even to this day, okay, even though that was in the 70s, that is something that agriculture has still invested their time and efforts in. Okay? We've invested, what are some alternative fuel sources that you guys have heard about and grew up knowing? Ethanol is one of them. Definitely ties in with agriculture right here. Corn-based ethanol is big. What else?
Unleaded.
Okay, that's still petroleum. I'm thinking of something besides just regular petroleum that we know of.
Racing fuel.
Electricity. Cars. Oh yeah, like an electric car.
Okay, so we burn things on coal.
Propane tractor.
Propane is also another energy source. Great. Natural gases, we'll go with that, or another one. What about all these things down by the Diller area?
Windmill. Oh, wind turbine.
Yeah, wind turbines. Wind energy is also really big. What's another type of energy that we've invested in? Research it. Geothermal is, and also solar.
Yeah, that's
Yes. What else? Okay, so hydroelectricity, but water. That is very true. So those are all things over the centuries, well, in the last couple of years, especially wind energy, probably geothermal, or some of those things that we've looked into for alternative sources of energy, for power. But a big thing we invested in Nebraska is ethanol, for corn-based ethanol, because it is a product that we have growing every day, and it also creates another demand for that crop. Okay? Except in probably about 2007, when I graduated high school, when corn shot up to like $7 a bushel, it cost way more money to produce that ethanol than it was actually worth. So that was a time when ethanol was probably not a great alternative fuel source because it cost so much money. Because you could have just sold that corn instead of putting in ethanol, and it cost more money to actually make the ethanol than it was actually worth. So there's always markets that go on in our world, and it goes up and down, and that's exactly what all this utilization research goes into, is trying to find new and different ways to utilize products, the surplus products. All right. Book also talks about more research is needed in all sorts of areas as well. New crops and old crops. Help restore the balance of trade, reduce our dependence on foreign oil like we talked about. Make exports more competitive in the global market, and also benefit the environment, which we know also all those alternative fuels are trying to get away from fossil fuels, or getting away from coal, because big research has gone into trying to make sure our environment does not get hurt at the expense of creating or burning these fossil fuels. So what are some things in cars that they have done to make the fuel burn cleaner? Go.
Like Toyota does, they run them on our eyes.
Okay. What other things? What do you got, Cody?
Oh, well, they make
Beat
the
that
emissions of cars lower.
Okay, what do they put in your car to make that happen?
Cabs.
Right? A catalytic converter, and if you get pulled over and your car does not have one, how big of a fine is that?
I don't know.
Don't get pulled over then, I guess. 'Cause
I never got pulled over yet.
that's a big fine. If they, cause
I don't have one of mine.
that catalytic converter just helps with the emissions, and that emissions, the CO2 pumping into the air, that is the big research going on right now. That's why we get into solar, wind energy, all of those different alternative fuels. Okay, also the book does talk about some new plants that are going to be looked upon as maybe some interest in the future. During Bush's campaign, I know he talked a lot about switchgrass, planting switchgrass, and using it for ethanol production. Well, what do you think a problem with switchgrass could be? Think about that utilization research. Okay, it could be used for ethanol production, but what other products do you guys use on a daily basis that switchgrass is used for? Okay, to cut, but
A basket.
yeah, that's kind of some of that. That's where that utilization research comes in. Is there's not really, besides cattle feed, and there's not a whole bunch of other uses for switchgrass. Okay, but you never know. There could be some in the future. Guauli is another plant here. Looks like this. Wanted to use it to make a different form of rubber. Okay, maybe burn it or make it cleaner. It kind of looks like milkweed a little bit, yes. But what other products do you know of that use guauli? I don't know too many either. Or crambe or cranby. Don't really know totally how it is said. You can probably say it either way. Also, this one would be used as an oil crop. Again, not other products really out there that actually use them. And quinoa would be a substitute for making the wood pulp that makes paper. What? I think that one just has a flower on it. So this would also be another, I guess, some sort of fiber plant that would be used for making paper. But again, more of them have to be used. And then this is switchgrass. More products have to be created to actually utilize these crops.
Wow.
It very well could be. This could be your future right here. You never know. You could actually one day decide, heck, I'm just going to start planting switchgrass because I'm going to be making money.
Gallon of gas, no man.
You never know. What?
I know.
Gallon of gas.
To burn it down?
Yeah.
Burn down your crop? I don't know what you're saying.
Crop insurance.
So you want to go to jail too. You don't want to have a catalytic converter, and you want to go to jail for arson. We'll talk later. We probably need to talk about something. Okay? All right.
Hey, Dukes, I'd love to talk to you later.
Sounds good.
All right.
Perfect. The future and what does it hold? Oh, one thing. Let's see. One thing that we did not totally talk about was that farm bill, but the farm bill renewed every 4 years, I believe. But that is the main piece of legislation that really directs all agricultural policies. Also, a big part of it is the incentive food stamp program as well, like I said. So know that term, that farm bill. Like I said, it is a key piece of legislation for funding all of these different things that happen in agriculture, all these policies as well. All right, biotechnology. And this is our last part of this chapter. Biotechnology, I feel, is an area where maybe some of you someday, even though you may not even think about it at all, or you think plant science is boring or whatever, you may end up in a field of biotechnology because, and I will talk about it again and again and again, you all in here are really the doorway, the key into the future of feeding the rest of the world forever and ever. Okay? Because advancements, think about 1900 till now. How many years is that?
A couple.
A little bit over 100, right? 116, 17 years now. Okay? Think about the advancements that have gone on in only 117 years, which really is not, you may think it's a long time, but it is not that long of time in the history of this whole world. Okay, 117 years. We went from plowing in the fields with a horse and a single plow, to being able to have satellites in space direct a combine or a tractor
That's about a joke.
and plant even rows or plant more precise rows to get more yields. Okay? We went from that to that in only 117 years. So think about your lifetime, what you're going to see and accomplish, and science is going to be able to accomplish, the people are going to be able to accomplish with biotechnology. And a big part of it is this genetic engineering. Okay? We are, especially with the environment, as such a big key issue right now, and farmers getting blamed for a lot of the different pesticides or insecticides that go into the ground. That's why this biotechnology is such a big thing, because they are trying to create, seed companies are trying to create seeds out there that need less insecticides or pesticides in general, because genetically that plant can then fight away the insects. And we'll talk about one of the examples pretty soon. But these are some examples where biotechnology is being used. Herbicide resistance, insecticide resistance, we'll talk about that. Disease resistance, controlling ripening of tomatoes. That's such a big thing because tomatoes can get rotten faster. So what if we can implant some genes in a tomato that keep them lasting longer? Or nutritional enhancements. That's another thing as well. What if we could somehow make a potato to be healthier, I guess we'll say. Some people think that they're just full of starch and they don't eat them. But what if you can somehow have some of these plants or products and make them more nutritious? Also improve the taste of some foods and ornamental flowers with all new sorts of different colors, and that is really just for the eye. But there are a lot of gardeners out there that love new and different flowers, and we'll look at those as well. Okay, here's the big thing on it, genetically. Here's my example. And this is actually what Michaela's speech was over right here. So if you want to just share any of your findings, you go right on ahead, okay? Okay, BT core. Now this has been out for a while, but the BT stands for Bacillus thuringiensis. Okay? What this actually is, like it says, they got a protein from a bacteria, essentially. And then what they did with this protein is they put it into the corn plant, the genetics of the corn plant.
All these corn
BT
double
delta
So-
endotoxin.
What?
BT delta endotoxin.
BT delta endotoxin. Okay. They put this inside of the actual genetic makeup of the corn plant. This protein then is actually poisonous though to European corn borers. Let's see, I don't have a picture of them. European corn borers, corn earworm, or some other crop insects that are going to affect the actual plant. So this is what happens if maybe a plant does not have, if a corn plant has earworm or corn borer that actually gets into the plant, this is the ears that it produces. These are ones that do not, that actually have that. They are the BT corn, and the earworm has not affected this yet. Okay? What? So which one would you want to plant?
The good one.
It's all listed underneath BT corn.
Probably this one here. This is without, this is with.
Okay.
So what the purpose of this is, if we can genetically put that into a plant already, what do you think it's going to cut down on? Farmers having to cut down on what?
Pesticide.
Yes, all the insecticides and pesticides, because once that earworm actually eats maybe a root of the plant or somewhere, probably a root, then it is going to, once it takes a bite of that, then that toxin is going to get into the worm and then it's going to actually die.
Why want to get into that?
What? Okay. Now that's actually a very, very, very good question right there. Okay? That's, it's true. There you go. Is that good?
That took me a while.
Okay. So that is a very good question because that is the controversy that goes on with all genetically modified organisms. From the tomatoes, from the apples you eat in the store, I would guarantee and bet that everybody in this room has eaten some sort of plant or organism that has been genetically modified in one way or another. Naturally or non-naturally. Okay? So, I'm just going to ask you, okay, since you did the research on it. Cody's question was, how do you know it's not going to get into us? What is your research that you did your speech on show?
Because the protein, and then they insert it, and so it makes the endotoxin, and the endotoxin is toxic only to the larvae of the European corn borer. It's not toxic.
And then your studies that you also researched as well. Has there been any studies showing that
No.
this is actually hurting or detrimental to
No,
livestock?
Not in feed or not in livestock, not in humans. It has not. A lot of studies conducted in Canada where GMO foods have been legalized longer, and in the 20 years since they have been introduced, they haven't caused an increase in autism, obesity, liver disease, cancer, nothing.
But that is Cody, that was a good question because because there are a lot of people that say, oh, GMO, that means that it's going to kill me. No, that's not what it means at all. But what? We have the right to know, right? The labeling is also a really big part of Farm Bill stuff now, ag legislation. Because it seems like the last 10 years, they have just increased need to find out or know, right? Like you said, where their food comes from and what it is, which is fine. But that also kind of shows us also how many generations we keep getting from the farm as well. Okay, is what I think. Okay, the last thing here. Germplasm. Germplasm. This is just talking about really the genetics of plants. There's less than 1/10 of 1% of 350,000 available plant species are used for agriculture. So that's saying there's not many plants that are used for agriculture, right? But
That's a lot of plants.
we can actually tell too, like I said, it is kind of interesting thinking about back to our ice storm we had here. I mean, we really are, if you think about it, about one catastrophe away from, even though we have it so good in America, we almost, yeah, we do. Okay, you can go to your grocery store right now, Cody, and go buy, heck, any product you want to buy. Canned, frozen, whatever, right? What?
Nothing.
You can go buy Mountain Dew, you can go buy
I would never have
Code Red, You can go buy Mellow Yellow, which is better than Mountain Dew.
Are you sure?
I
You
will
can-
buy Mountain Dew.
Mountain Dew throwback.
I
is
just
the
went there.
best.
You can go buy flour tortilla shells. No. You can go buy $1 Teddy Grahams in aisle 1 at Ray's. Okay?
Oh, I love their dollar. That place is
There you go.
magical.
So, but we are really about
So much.
like one catastrophe away from having kind of a food shortage in our at least our area.
Sweet.
So that is why it is very, I mean, we do have to be able to actually save a lot of this. I'm talking about maybe genetics of different crops and stuff, because over time, if some of those are lost, then those species could become extinct. Yes.
We're smart.
Can you just hold on? There's an emergency. If it's an emergency, go ahead. Okay. All right. And this is just saying that a lot of these genes and traits are of disease resistance are being used from different sources, and they'll also enable crops of the future to adapt to adverse environments. Okay, that is definitely something that's going to happen. Yes.
I'm gonna contradict your no from your,
Go ahead.
even if you're of age, you can't.
We'll talk about that later. Okay. Which is going to get us into our last thing here. Now, I want. Oh dang it! I did not have everybody. Never mind. Okay. I'm just going to read a couple of these examples. All I want you to do is listen, because you're going to be doing this in just a second.
Doug's
Okay.
not have my hearing aids today.
Using the tools of genetic engineering allows the incorporation and expression of genes from other species into plants. Some examples of application of gene technology in agriculture include, so these are some examples you could use, or you're going to be creating your own plant genetically modified organism, or should I say plant hybrid, however you want to say it. Herbicide-resistant plants. For example, crop plants resist the commercial herbicide Roundup, notably soybean, corn, and tomato, potato, wheat, cotton, and alfalfa. So what this is saying is, those crops, if you spray that Roundup on them, it won't kill them, but it will kill the other weeds. Okay? Because if you think about corn is a grass. A lot of weeds are grasses. So if you spray corn with a herbicide, it would probably kill the corn and the weeds. Insect-resistant plant using Bt toxin gene, we've already talked about that. The ripening of tomatoes, we've talked about that. And crop bioengineered for disease resistance. And it said as employed in papaya and squash, so that's some things going on there already. Enhanced nutritional benefits like golden rice, a transgenic rice within the genes for the production of vitamin A. So what they've done is taken vitamin A and put it actually into the rice to make it more nutritionally sound. Also, the ornamental plants and some of those other ones as well on page 32 are some examples of biotechnology. So, what I would like everybody to do right now is go ahead, notes, end them there.